Welcome to the 25th Hour podcast, where successful business owners share their secrets on how they make sure that they get the most important things accomplished every day and still have time to have a life. Today's guest is Bridget Richard, who is a psychotherapist and a woman's empowerment coach with over 20 years experience in the mental health field. She's passionate about teaching women to use their inner renegade to kick frustration and burnout to the curb through defining their own rules while getting others to listen. This is the first time I've been able to have a conversation with Bridget, though we've moved in the same circle for about a year or so. And you are going to love her strategies. I especially like the one where she talks about her Monday list. Sit back, take a listen, and I would love to hear your thoughts on it in the comments. Welcome to another episode of the 25th Hour podcast. Today's guest is Bridget Richard, and I am super excited that you're here, Bridget.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. So let us jump right in. When we talk about time, everyone has strategies they use to help them stay in control of their day, of their week, of their year, so that when they get to the end of the week, they don't say, I don't know where the time went. So share with us, what are some of your strategies that help you stay in control of your day?
I have three that I use on a regular basis anyway, because I'm always looking for something new. So I will be paying attention to you to see what wonderful things I need to add to my list of things that I like to use. But these will be my top three. Okay. Number one, I don't know how it happened, probably organically. But on Mondays, I would make a list of the thing that I had to get done that day. It's the beginning of the week, and I was going to make a list and I was going to be productive. And as it turns out, whatever I put on that list usually takes me a week. I always want more out of myself that I can do, but I have come to the acceptance that my Monday list is going to take me a week. And what I do with that list is every week I make a new Monday list, but I will go back and revisit my old Monday list and take any stragglers, right? Because if you have an old list and you try to go back 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, you're not going to get the stragglers. Something's going to fall through the cracks, get missed. Something is going to happen. So what I've learned to do is to take that thing that I didn't get last week or the week before, put it at the top, eat that frog. Get it out of the way. It's a straggler for a reason. And usually it's a straggler for a couple of different reasons. Either it's because I don't want to do it, because it is just one of those god-awful tasks, usually having something to do with taxes or finances that I don't want to look at, that I don't want to deal with, or it's too big. And really it's 4 or 5 tasks and I need to break it down as something else. So if something's lasted 2, 3, maybe more weeks, not to say that that happens, but it does. Then there's a good chance I need to break it down into something that's manageable so I can get past my own mental barriers of, okay, this is manageable. You just need to do this, this, and this instead of looking at it as this big chunk. So the Monday list is a big one for me. And that is one that I've been really, really consistent. The other one that my coaches have started talking to me about, which I'm finally processing, is getting out of my own way with the I have to do it. But right, I see you nodding. We are all that person. And that is both in my home life and my professional life, and even in my solopreneur life. We don't always have to be the one. We just convince ourselves we have to be the one. And that is absolutely my ego getting in the way. I even as a therapist, as a coach, I recognize that no, it is not us who has to be the one to do it. Usually, if it is I have to do it, it's because I don't want to take the time to teach somebody else to do it. Or I don't want to take the time to manage somebody else to do it. But I will guarantee you dollars to donuts that if it falls in that category, then there is a very, very good chance that it will take you less time once you teach that person to do it. Once you put that system into place, overall, it's just getting over the hurdle of, yes, you have to take the time and add an extra task to that Monday list to teach that person, hire that person, put that system into place. And no, you don't have to be the person to do it. Everything's automated right now, everything. So, get an intern to do it. In fact, locally, there are even internship programs where they will pay the intern to do it for you, or pay the intern to put the system into place for you. So the other one is recognizing that I don't have to be the person to do it, which makes that to-do list much more manageable. And then deciding, this is another one that my own mentors have hopped up and down on me on, because I'm still coming to terms with it. But it is very helpful for me to do, is to decide which of those things I really have to do and which of those things do I want to do. And I'm not just giving up because they are not the highest and best use of my time. And that goes to me teaching my 12-year-old how to make his own tea and his own sandwiches, because everybody is at home right now. It goes to doing the hiring and the managing of the office. I don't know, the office, everything, the purchasing of products. I have a way I want to have it done, but that's not the only way it needs to be done. And that's not the highest and best use of my time anymore. I can train somebody else to do that. And just kind of niching it down into, okay, what do I need to be doing? And 9 times out of 10, what I need to be doing is either speaking to wonderful people like yourself or doing coaching and therapy. And everything else needs to be delegated, systematized, and created in such a way that I can make myself feel comfortable and get past my own resistance in saying, yeah, okay, it's time. I'm going to let you do that on your own, and I'm going to step away.
And how do you get to that place where you're comfortable? Because, one of the things when I'm working with clients that we talk about all the time is they know they have to delegate. They also feel, and rightfully so many times, that no one can do it as well as them, or no one will be able to do it their way.
That's the kicker.
Right? And so how have you been able to let go?
Well, I let go physically, not emotionally. I am very much attached to whatever it is. So understanding that letting go physically of delegating the task is going to come well before acceptance that you've delegated it. And that is so okay. I think it has more to do with that second part that you said of they're not going to do it my way. And understanding they're not going to do it your way. They're going to do it their way. And that's okay. It's going to be a little bit different. But by and large, if we can get out of our own way and delegate it and let people do it their way, it will get done, and it will get done in such a way that it is in line with your brand or your home or your whatever. You're expanding your brand by doing that. So if you delegate Facebook posts to somebody in your division and they don't do it your way because they're not you, that's because they're adding their own personal twist onto it. But as long as it's in line with what you do, they're adding another dimension to it. And I think it's that idea of they're adding to your company, your brand, your household. How many people do you know that don't want to delegate this to the kids because it won't get done right? Right? They're adding, not taking away from it. And once you, and it's all about, and this goes back to my cognitive behavioral therapy side, I can't let go of it. If you can get yourself to buy into 1% that it will be okay if they do this, and it will be okay if they do it differently, and then you allow them to do it differently, that's that behavioral experiment. So you're letting it happen before you have the buy-in yourself. If it goes okay, it goes differently, but it goes okay, and you let them do it again, and you let them do it again, and they start to become proficient at it, then you can go back and go, oh, it was okay. That, oh, it'll be okay will not come first.
Right. Believe it. It's almost that idea of believing it into existence.
Yes.
Like, we're going to get there and it's going to be okay. One of the things that, you find after time is that the person you've delegated to actually does a better job than how you did it for many reasons. One is it could be in their skill set already.
Absolutely.
But another is
Absolutely.
when you delegate it out, that person tends to have a little more brain space than what you do. And so they can think it through in different ways and spend more time researching it or have different connections. And so that end result, when you can hold your breath long enough and bite your tongue long enough to get to it, is usually better than what you would have imagined. Is just that messy middle that is tough to get through.
Absolutely. And that's kind of where that fake it until you make it comes through.
Mhm.
But that's also really good supervision and really good leadership, is saying, yes, you know what, this is going to be messy, but I believe in you. You're going to embody this. You're going to do great with it. There'll be a couple of snafus in the beginning, and that's to be expected. And then it'll be wonderful. And if you can embody that, regardless of what you're thinking in your head about, I don't want to let it go, it's mine, it's my baby, I don't want to let it go. That's okay. Keep that on the inside voice. And on the outside voice, believing in that other person is excellent leadership. And so in addition to getting that task done, this person feels validated by you, and this person feels attached to you in a new way because you believed in them. And so you almost get a twofer.
Right. Right. Because you are empowering them to be a better version of themselves. Absolutely. One of the things that one of the strategies we'll use with clients is when they're getting ready to delegate and they're all up in their head about it, we say, you ask yourself, what's the worst thing that could happen?
Yes.
And if you can live with that answer, go forth and delegate. If you can't live with that answer, figure out what you need to do so that that answer changes. I'm a big believer that if the delegating process isn't working, it's more on the person who's delegating than it is the person who's receiving it usually.
Without a doubt. Like I said, it's that ego, and we all have it, and it's okay. It's a natural part of who we are. But we have to get past that in order to be able to say, okay, what am I doing that would make me better in leadership, better able to incorporate, to delegate these tasks and make these people that I am working with as invested in the task as me, and more invested in what we do because of it.
Yes. Now, switching around for a second, back to your Monday list. Question on your Monday list. Do you ever, after a couple of weeks, decide to deliberately, consciously abandon something that has carried over on the list for a few weeks?
Absolutely.
And how do you decide?
I think it, to piggyback on what you were saying, comes down to, can I live without it? There's a lot of good things. There are so many shiny objects out there, so many wonderful things. And I have come to the conclusion, how they say when one door closes, another one opens. I think the door closing sometimes is okay. That is a blessing or a virtue or whatever you want to label it as in and of itself, because it frees you up to refocus your attention on something that is more pressing, that needs your time, that you can accomplish in the present, right? So there have been more than a few shiny objects that have been on my list, and I've looked at it and just, I've had this on my list again for longer than I really like to admit. I'm like, I'm just not going to get to this. I had a stack of cards that I had accumulated through all of my networking when I first opened my business. I went to everything the chamber offered and then some, and I was accumulating cards and I didn't know what I was going to do with them because I was brand new in business, right? But I had 300-400. And at one point I had tried to start a newsletter with them. And what I noticed was, with all these business cards, some people had moved on from the position. Some people had no idea who I was or where they had met me from. And so it didn't take off. And so I'm like, well, it's because I'm not using these right. So I had the stack of cards, messy stack of cards here for years, saying I was going to do something with them. And then finally, just like last month, I was like, I'm sick of looking at these, and I threw them in the trash.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And it was very liberating and a little bit scary, because I'm like, those are the connections that I have made, but they weren't real connections. Mm-hmm. They were people that I connected with in a moment in time, but they weren't the people that I am messaging and referring to and interacting with on a daily basis. And once I realized those business cards represented a moment in time, but they didn't represent where I was right now, I could let go of them.
I love that story. I love that story. And when I use that story, I will credit you.
Oh, thank you.
Because I love it. And often I will remember a story and I'll be like, I don't know who said it. I don't know where it came from, but I am totally going to connect you with the story. Now, jumping back to I don't have to do it.
Yes.
As your second strategy that you shared with us. So it's funny because in my head, I'm hearing it two ways. I'm hearing it as I don't have to do it. And I'm hearing it as I don't have to do it.
Good point.
So which, or both, like I don't want to push you into a corner, but what's your intent behind that phrase?
I think originally is I don't have to do it. However, when you talked about letting things off of that list, I think that's the second one, which is I don't have to do it. There's so much information out there. It is overwhelming. And so we listen to all these experts who are truly experts in their own field, and I don't want to take away from them at all. But just because they don't do it doesn't mean I have to. And so I get all of these wonderful ideas and a ridiculous amount of notes that I have taken over the years after, again, going to these events and networking events and whatnot, and they have a speaker and they say all these wonderful things about how they're managing their time, their energy, their business, their finances, whatever, relationships. But then I realized at some point that you cannot, it's almost like dessert for me. There are so many wonderful desserts out there. And for a long time, back when we had newspapers, I was snipping articles out of newspapers with all these wonderful recipes I'd want to make. And it's infinite. There is no way, even if I made a new dessert every night, that I would ever be able to make everything that I looked and said, that's good, I know I can make that, right? Mm-hmm. I think that is the same with these tasks. They're infinite. There is no way, and with 100 different ways at minimum of doing any one thing, that I will be able to do all these things that I see other people doing and working for them very well. So I think I don't have to do it. I don't have to do it is true. We do what works for us, and we'll incorporate something new from time to time. But that's going to be that one little gold nugget that we take away from the 100 things that we heard in that month or year. But we don't have to incorporate all these things to be successful, happy, or healthy.
It's about finding the piece that fits you.
Yes.
I don't know if you were at the conference. Did you go to the NABO conference last week?
I was unable to. Okay.
So on Thursday, and before we started this recording, Bridget and I were speaking about speaking. And so on Thursday, one of the speakers talked about boundaries and saying no and things like that. And she said, do not devalue yourself. Do not speak for free. And I thought, oh, okay, let's, we're going to take that in. Friday, the closing speaker spoke for free and booked a ton of business off that free talk.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, wait a minute. She spoke for free and it definitely helped her business. Mm-hmm. And then I said, both of these people speaking about speaking with two completely different points of view. There's no way I can, to your point, there's no way that I can do what both of them are saying because they're opposite. Like, yes. It's not gonna happen.
They're mutually exclusive.
Right? It's like, okay, this is not, I always laugh about like, try to stay in the world of and. It's not this or this. It's how can we live in that world of and where there's so many more possibilities. I was like, this is not an opportunity for and. This is literally a this or this strategy and thought process. And so back to your point about I don't have to do it. Like you can't take in all the information from all the people speaking about all of that and do it all.
Yep.
There's just no way. Especially because it isn't necessarily meant for you. Like one of those messages is my message.
Yes.
But not both. Ever.
And it can change too, because there are times where we can say, you know what, I don't have to do this because that is not the right opportunity in that moment. but it doesn't mean that you have to say all or none. I'm going to be a speaker for hire, or I'm going to be a speaker at every opportunity I get. There can be those times where you're like, you know what, they're willing to pay me, but this is not my audience. This is not my topic. And there are other times where, okay, they're not willing to pay me, but there's going to be 150 people there who are all my ideal client, who want to receive my message. And this is totally worth it. So it can change from time to time.
Yes. Yeah. And both of them were definitely, both of their messages were definitely on the ends of that continuum. So let's shift gears for a second here, because I am so in love with everything that you said, all your strategies, and you've referenced a couple times, in your business, when I first started my business. So share, what is it that you do?
Okay, well, first and foremost, I'm a psychotherapist. I'm a licensed independent social worker, have been for years, worked in private practice for a dozen years or more. And have my own private practice. So I have my own private practice here in Northeast Ohio. I work with over 20 wonderful therapists who serve everybody from age 5 through adulthood. And we love what we do. I enjoy going to work every day, albeit virtually right now, but life. And so the private practice is absolutely, without a doubt, my first love. And I make the joke that's my third kid. Because I started it when my kids were in their first year of kindergarten and first year of school in kindergarten, and then their first year of preschool. They were 3 and 5, and I thought I had all this time on my hands.
Yes, because they just left, right?
Yes.
So of course you had all this free time.
And I was going to start a business. And I did, and it worked out just, wonderfully. But at that time it was like, well, do I want to, I'll start a business. So I refer to it as my third child. So I've had that now for over 6 years, but I noticed a trend, and the trend was that there were many women who were coming into my office who were in transition, whether purposefully or not, and they fell into 2 categories. And category 1 was, I'm in transition because I grew up and I was a diligent student and I did all the activities, and they told me to, pick a good school and pick a good career. So I did that. And so I'm excelling in my career, and they, at this point, people are going back and forth on whether or not they want to, get married and have the white picket fence or not. But either way, they've made their decision and they have a very full life on the outside. But they were sitting there going, okay, so I'm doing all these things, but then why do I feel empty? Why do I feel anxious? Why am I worried about what that next step is going to be? And so those were my what next women. And it happens much younger than you would think, because you're go, 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 and you're not really thinking about where you're going to until you stop and go, okay, well, I got there. Now what? So we had that. And then we had people who were in transition, women who would come into my office, and I'm sure this happens to men too. It just so happens that was the pattern that I was seeing, where they found themselves going and doing, and they had the family and they had the high achieving position with their company, but they were doing everything for everybody else. And they were now where am I in my life? Like literally, where do I have time for me?
Right.
I'm in the middle of everything. And so they had created that life and they loved that life, but they needed to find a way to augment it in such a way that they had time for their individual personal enjoyment and development. And they had found themselves backed into a corner where there was no time for that. And I think that goes back to the strategy we were talking about for time management, where do I have to do this? Do I have to do this? And kind of teaching them that you can pick and choose and have the wonderful life that you've developed and still insert yourself into the life. And it'll be a change, and you might get a little bit of pushback because people are used to you being the center. But overall, they will benefit from you being in your life and delegating and inviting them into your life to be helpful. Which is difficult for some high achieving women to understand, that it's okay to ask of others. Not guilty of that at all. So at any rate, I had seen this pattern and had tried to find various different ways to help people with that, and decided that life coaching was the way that I was going to do that. because I can expand my reach and help more people with those particular issues online, via phone, virtual, with groups, and not limit myself to doing those things within the therapeutic milieu, which is really, I describe them as two sides of one coin. And the coaching is one side of the coin where we're looking at where are you now and where do you want to get to? And the therapeutic side of me is, okay, what led up to where you are now and how do we help you address that so you can get where you want to get to? So those two together are an interesting combination for me, but I love it.
Yeah, and it helps you see full the whole path. As a coach, like I know my part is now moving forward.
Yes.
And the before now is not a place or an area that I am able, for so many reasons, to work effectively in. You know, mine is now and moving forward. And like you said, the flip of both coins, you have both. As I was thinking about your what next segment of population that you work with, I'm like, okay, I was 37 when I had my what's next moment. And I was like, yeah, I'm good at what I do. I don't love what I do. And I'm feeling kind of like, is this all there is? And I'm 37, like there's got to be more. So yes, so there, I would have fallen into your first set of characteristics of the what's next person.
Absolutely. And we all get there.
Right. Well, exactly. Sometimes I totally have found what my what's next is. It took a little bit, but I'm here, fully here now. Bridget, you have all this stuff going on. Family, plus two successful businesses. Yet you also know how to juggle it all, to use such a goofy phrase, but you have time management strategies that you use. You know what's important. You know what to do. So let's talk about that 25th hour.
Yes.
When the stars align and or you following the things that you know that make you successful, you can create that extra hour every day. What would you like to do with it? What do you do with it when you have that extra time?
I get my domestic goddess on.
Okay. All right. Tell me more.
I will, prior to, again, you know, our current situation, the kids and I would go camping. And so we would pick, you know, a Boy Scout camp or a Cub Scout camp to go to, and we'd just go spend some time out in the woods and enjoying everything that they have to offer. And I enjoy those camps because we don't have to figure out what to do. We're just like, there's something around here we can do. And my kids refer to me as the social butterfly. I spend more time out of the house than in the house because I like to interact with people, have people over for dinner, you know, make them coffee, breakfast, which is the other domestic goddess part. I love to bake.
Okay.
I get that from my dad. I love to bake. So I will bake breakfast. I will make blueberry muffins. I will make scones. I will make desserts. I will make brownies. I will make cakes. I make dinner. I do cook, but I prefer baking. So if it's going to be a tasty treat, I will be making it if I have some extra time on my hands.
As I'm thinking back, my in-laws, she cooked and he baked. And it was like the perfect, I mean, there was so many reasons it was the perfect marriage, but like that was definitely one of them. Like she made amazing, you know, spaghetti and breaded pork chops and things like that. And he was just the best baker, absolutely the best baker. And so when you say that, I think back to all the meals that I have had at their house when, right when my husband and I first started dating, I gained 10 pounds in like the first 2 months. I was like, I am not used to this every meal all the time.
Good problems to have, right?
Right? I was like, this is the best. This is totally the best. Before we close out, I thank you so much for your time and for sharing your stories and your expertise with us. How can people get a hold of you?
They can come to my website or websites, depending on what they're looking for. The coaching website is bridgetrichard.com. So easy to remember. And from that website, there are multiple links where you can schedule a free hour with me to go over what is it that you're struggling with, how did you arrive at your what next moment, what are your goals, and can I be of service in order to help you figure out how you're going to get there. And even if you don't have goals identified, that can be our objective, is re-looking at, okay, what makes you feel passionate? What makes you feel happy? What do you want to do with your 25th hour? And can that 25th hour be, 24 hours a day?
Awesome. And then on the therapy end?
Yes. They can give us a call. We also have a website. So either or. The phone number is 330-331-5800 for both locations. The phone rings to one location. And the website is www.lamplightcounseling.net. And we have plenty areas there where people can contact us via email or direct message or phone, whatever makes people comfortable.
Fantastic. And are you guys taking new clients right now? I know there are some who are at capacity based on the world that we are currently living in. Are you guys accepting new clients?
Yes, we have virtual and in-person sessions. We are taking new patients. And right before I got onto this call with you, I put out an advertisement for more therapists. Because I always said, if we were ever at capacity, it is not because we're at capacity, it's because I need to do more hiring.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. And thank you for hiring more therapists.
It was my pleasure. Thank you very much.